Hey guys, welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, we're going to be doing a Urek boss guide for the Underground Laboratory. Now, this one is something that I've had asked a lot. Just keep in mind, this type of thing does evolve as you go. Depending on, your levels and stuff like that, there is different strategies you can take, but I'm going to do my best to explain the strategies as we go. And if I do find new stuff further on, new characters become meta, I will update you guys on this one. So, as you can tell, for me at the moment, I am in Master 1. I can't quite crack into the top 10 in my region at the moment. I need a bit more damage. I'd need to get 6 million and I'm currently at 5,100,000. Now, when we take a look at the meta, and then I'm going to go into how to actually do this boss, because this boss, if you want to get any damage on him, you've really got to be playing it in manual. But essentially, the meta that's pretty much evolved is using Bomb's always in there. Huarian for the damage amplification. Evan, now I have seen people use Data instead of Evan. I cannot get my Data to pop those shields. I've seen other people manage to do it, but currently in the top 10 on my my region, there is no one using Zahard, but it is an option depending on the situation. Just know that is a thing. But Evan in this one is going to be crucial to manual his ultimate so that you can avoid being one shot. Essentially is what happens in this. Then we have a main damage dealer. For me, it's Ihua. For most people, it's going to be Hats if you have him built. He's just better damage, essentially, at this stage. And then we have a damage amplifier. Now, there's a few other options. I have seen people upgrading, where is he? This guy, upgrading his exclusive equipment to plus 30, because he then will reduce physical and magical resistance of isolated enemies by to 0. It'll reduce them to 0. So I've seen people doing massive damage with him, but that requires too much investment, and investment that I am not willing to put in. So you can use Shibisu. I have also experimented with the Assassin Dude. The Assassin Dude's too unreliable on landing his defense break for me, so I find Shibisu just to be the easier option. Plus, if you're using Hats or you're using Ihua as your damage dealer, then you do get that extra boost from Shibisu for all your yellow units. So he's kind of being the one that I'm seeing used the most. And what I'll show you is show you the meta here. Now, keep in mind, when we go into showing you the actual boss fight and how to do it, you'll see that some people, this guy specifically, you see he's not running an Evan at all. He's just going for full nuke damage, going all in on the DPS, and what they're relying on here is bursting the shields with damage as opposed to immuning the damage that comes at the end of it. And if you can start bursting those shields, you will see better returns on damage. But for me, where I'm at, I'm not at the stage where I can do enough damage to do that. I think in the end game, it may be a case of just nuking this dude. But when most people are around that, like level 200 or below, you're gonna need to just immune the damage. You can probably punch through the first shield, and then you're gonna have to immune the damage on the rest of them. But if we look at the meta that seems to be forming in my sort of region, you can see Hats is the main damage dealer. Then we got the Huarian, the Evan, the Bomb, pretty stable, and this one is using the Shibisu as the damage amplifier. Let's see what we got here. Same team, except this one doesn't have Hats, and it's using the Ihua as the damage dealer. Let's go down here and take a look, just so I can show you guys. Once again, same team, Hats as damage dealer. And let's go into another one. Same thing, Hats as damage dealer. So you can see that's the firm meta that's forming in my state of the game. Now, once again, if you're on like the first server where you got Giga Whales and stuff like that, they're probably going pure damage based. But I feel like this strategy is going to apply to most people. And what I'll do is I'll do it on manual once for you. I've only got one try, so I'm not going to let this one stick. Keep in mind, you can retry this as many times as you want. Just don't let it finish and you're good to go. Now, two things to be careful of. Well, the first thing to be careful of is sometimes Bomb will not get his buff off. Sometimes he gets knocked down, interrupted, and he just stops doing it. So if he doesn't get his buff off on your main damage dealer, restart the fight. It's not worth it. So let's jump in, and I'll put it on 1x speed, and I'll show you the general strategy that you want to be using on this boss, and then I'll show you a couple of my runs. So let's take a look. we go. We'll put it on 1x speed. You put it on manual. Now you can use like some of your ults early. In this one, I like to wait for Shibisu. So you can see here, I'm waiting for him to get his shield. Now this first shield is one that I'm going to punch through. So we're about there. I'm going to use Ihwa now, pre-cast her, probably a little bit early, then into Shibisu, then into every other damage, but I'm holding on to Evan. So we pop that first shield. So you can see we pop that first shield, and then we got a bunch of damage flowing through. I am able to pop that first shield, but now we're waiting for his second shield to appear. There it is. When it gets down to about 3 or 4 seconds, I'm going to pop Evan. So there it is, 4 seconds. I'm going to pop it. That was probably a little bit early. Now with 1 second to go, I'm going to pre-cast Ihwa because she sometimes lags out. As you can see, she lagged on the cast there. Then I'm going to do everyone. Now that his shield is gone, because his shield goes and then he deals damage. And the reason I popped Evan when I did is because you want to immune that damage that he deals at the end of his shield. And if you can't pop the shield, you have to just invincible that damage. So now you can see we've got another shield up. So same thing again. Once we get to like 4 seconds, between 4 and 3, I'm going to pop Evan. And there we go. We've got Evan off again. Now we're waiting for that shield to get a bit lower. I'm going to precast Ihwa, and then I'm going to do everyone else. And then we're going to do as much damage post shield as we can and just nuke the hell out of it. Now this next one, because Evan won't have his animation on the next one, I'm going to cast him at 5 seconds. So 5 seconds, I'm casting him, and you can see I missed it. I missed the window to cast there. And we're probably gonna get dead. So you can see how we died. That is because on Evan's third ultimate, when you've got the camera settings on, he's gonna, for some reason, this may be different for different people, but the timing mine works. He used one of his other abilities at around 5 to 4 seconds. So I've got to be at like 5.5 to 6 seconds when I cast Evan for that one. And keeping in mind with that third one, he is going to use the animation. So it is going to be a bit slower. Like he's not going to have like the cutscene. So it's going to be slow for him to apply, which means it will last until you take the damage from the Data Mazinos. So that is the strategy there. You can see I messed that one up, so we're not going to get that final bit of damage in. So that is where I would restart. Okay, so I thought I'd go through one more time, show you guys that strategy. I might look at my records first and show you this one. So this one was using the assassin dude as my damage amplifier, and this one was Shibisu, and these two were just before I leveled my characters, got the Shinsu to go to past 201. So these two replays are both with Shibisu, and at that level 210 and 191. You can see I got a bunch of levels into my characters. But let's show you guys my best one, and we'll pause it along the way, and you can sort of see the strategy that I used in this one, and I'll try and explain it as best I can as we go through. So let the loading screens load, which always takes a lovely amount of time. All right, so basically what we're doing here is we definitely want the bomb buff to go off. Like I said, sometimes he misses it, but on this team, it's been pretty reliable for me. But we want to go in. You can see he's going to do his stuff. I'm going to hold on to all of my ults here. I'm not going to use any of them. Now, you can pre-use some of the ults. Like I could have used Huarian and probably got Huarian off before his shield came up and got that extra little bit of damage. But now you can see he's got this shield up, and it's got a certain amount of time and a certain amount of health, which is the blue bar. You either deplete the shield and get it to 0 so he doesn't deal damage after it, or you invincible the damage with Evan. Those are your two main strategies that you have to do here. And on this first one, I have the damage to be able to deplete the shield, so it allows me to save an Evan ult and just sort of nuke through it, because that allows me to do more damage overall. So let's go ahead here and play. And you'll see here that the shield, unfortunately, when you watch a replay, it doesn't show you the shield's value. Like the shield value pops up at the start and then disappears. It's a bug with replays, unfortunately. But you can see here, I've got all my ults ready. Shibisu is just about ready. So because I got Shibisu ready to amplify the damage, I'm about to pop all of my ults except for Evan to get as much damage and pop that shield. You can see here, I've probably, and also like in this situation, when he does that, your characters sometimes get knocked down, so you might miss the window of like just insta-casting it. So I probably had them clicked, but the units weren't able to use them. So there we go. We go Shibisu, we go Ihwa, we go Huarian, and we go Bomb. And you can see we've broken that shield, and we pump ourselves up to about 1.8 million damage. So that's what we want to do. Now, next time, we're just going to wait. We're not going to use anything. You can see the next shield is up. And when this shield hits about 4 seconds, That is when between 4 and 3, and on with once again with Evan, on the first 2 ultimates you use of Evan, you do it between 4 and 3. At least this is the way the RNG on my account's working. You got to experiment with your account. So between 4 and 3 seconds is when I want to use it on my Evan, because then his invincibility lasts through the damage that would have been taken. But on his third one, I want to cast it at about 6 seconds, because otherwise he uses one of his other abilities that stops him from casting his ult. And casting at 6 seconds is okay because we no longer have the animation cut that allows Evan to insta-cast it. So it's going to take him 2 seconds to actually cast that ult from when you press it on the third ultimate, due to the way the camera settings work. So let's hit play here. You can see we're at 4 seconds now, and now we are using that Evan ultimate so that we can avoid the damage when this timer gets to 0. So we avoid that damage. Now we're going to once again pop Shibisu, pop Ihwa, pop Warian, please. There it is. And then pop Bomb as well. If Bomb's going to pop, he's laying down at the moment. So there we go. There he goes. He does some damage there. Okay, so that's done. Sweet, happy days. Now we've got the next timer. You can see this next timer is at 6 seconds. Now, the way replays work, I don't know if we'll get the animation from Evan, but once again, this one, you'll see me at about 4 seconds use the Evan ult. 4, there you go. See how the time stops? It doesn't show the animation, but time stops at 4 seconds, which is good. So now we keep pumping, we just keep waiting. And now that he's done, you can see we popped all the ults again. We're just trying to get max damage between those shields and just burst him down as hard as we can. So now the next shield is up. So what I wanted you to see is we are currently at 6 seconds. So because we're at 6 seconds, you'll see I pretty quickly press Evan, because if I wait another second, Evan will use one of his other abilities and he won't be able to get his ult off in time. So you've got to pre-cast it on this one. So it's 6 seconds at the moment, and then you'll see we start casting Evan. And then that animation just finishes with 2 seconds left. So pre-casting it with Evan on his third ultimate, when you no longer have the camera to cut it, is fine, because it will still have that lag time and allow you to get it off. Then you got this one, and then we go ahead and we deal our damage here. And that's pretty much all the damage we're going to be able to deal, because after this one, you can see he's got 6 seconds left. He's about to get his shield up, and now we're not going to get any more damage, even if we save Evan's ult. So that is the basic process for fighting against Urek. It's the best strategy I've been able to find. Like I said, some people I've seen have success with using Zahad to strip the shield. I cannot make it work. My Zahad never strips that shield. I don't know if it's a bug on my account or something like that, but that is the strategy. Using Evan, depending on how much damage you can deal, you might be able to burst through the first shield and then use Evan ult on the second 2 to avoid the damage. Otherwise, you might have to use it from the first one if you're much lower level. So that is the general strategy. Unfortunately, if you don't have Evan, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get past that. But you know, by the time you get to sort of like that level 200 range, hopefully most people have the key SSR pluses that they need. And once again, I'm using Ihwa, but Hats, from what I've been seeing, is the highest damage capacity in this sort of team. This is sort of the basic formation, but have Hats as your damage dealer instead of Ihwa, and you're pretty good to go. I have seen some tech usages of Kuhn Edwin and stuff like that, but this is just a general safe build that you want to use. But once again, this one is going to take you a lot of retries to get the timing right, and just basically get the max damage you can. You know, if you're running with defense shreds, you got to make sure those defense shreds apply and stuff like that, which can be quite tedious. So keep in mind, while you're running through, you can pause it, you can retry. You get up to 5 per run, per fortnight, or however long these last for, so that you can do it. You can see I got 1 try left, so I might experiment with trying to get a bit more damage in the next day or so. But that is my general strategy for Data Urek in the Underground Laboratory. Once again, I'm not 100% right. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. That is just what I am seeing in my current meta, and then what I have been able to get my best damage with as a free-to-play player trying to grind against everyone else. So as always, guys, let me know if you have any other strategies down below, and I'll do my best to cover the rest of the bosses as well. But as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.